So it's election day. I wanted to quickly talk about Mr. Mamdani. I was talking to a normie recently, someone I interact with in my life. I won't go any further than that. And it was just kind of hilarious. The whole, Mamdani is going to destroy New York City and socialism, and this is a capitalist. New York City is capitalist, and he's going to bring socialism, whatever. Anybody that thinks that has no clue about American politics. Anyone that is worried about socialism taking over New York City, you're absolutely clueless about America and certainly about our politics. And it's interesting because these people that are saying this, the reason that what I just said is true is demonstrated by the fact that they mentioned that this is a capitalist, New York City's capitalist. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand the power that capitalism has behind it? All these billionaires and millionaires and corporate interests. If you understood anything about capitalism and how much power it has and how corrupt it is and how, it has its, hands around the necks of our government, then you would know that Zoran Mamdani or anybody else has virtually no chance of moving us towards socialism or communism. No chance. If I'm to sort of give a good faith effort to present a scenario where that could happen, what it would take for us to become socialists or communists in New York City would require a movement of people that are super engaged and very effective and very smart in terms of tactics. We don't have such a movement, right? The movement we have is a movement of people that couldn't even get enough people to show up to vote for Bernie Sanders, right? So this is the way it would work. If Mamdani tries to push us towards socialism or capitalism, he's going to get massive pushback from corporate interests. And without the power of the people, who we are the ones that have the most power, but without a movement of people that are utilizing that power and, basically backing him up in terms of moving in that direction, it's not going to happen, right? This is also demonstrated by the No Kings protest. The fact that if you listen to the rhetoric about how bad things are in this country, and I would agree with most of what they're saying about how bad things are, but we could only get 7 million people to protest. A country that can only get 7 million people to protest, and most of them don't even realize how tiny that is. They think that it's massive because the mindset is you're comparing it to history, right? People that think in such a small way, a movement that's the best that they could do, like as bad as things are and the damage that's being done to our country, if that is the best we could do is get 7 million people, anything less than 25 million is not meeting the moment. So with that being said, if you can't even get 25 million people to show up to protest, to push back against what's happening, where is the support for Mamdani to take us to socialism and communism, right? He can't do it on his own, right? They're going to block him. They're going to shut him down. The only path to success is with support from we the people. And when I say support from we the people, it's impressive what he's gotten in terms of a movement and people supporting him to some degree, but this is nothing compared to what's required, right? We're definitely not there where we need to be to do something like socialism or communism. So what's the reality? What's a Mamdani being mayor? What does it look like? It just occurred to me yesterday that it looks like pretty much probably what we would have gotten, I hate to say it, similar to what we would have gotten with Kamala Harris, except he has better messaging. And I would say he's more aligned with the people than Kamala Harris would be, but that's not what really matters, is the results, right? Kamala Harris can be more leaning towards corporate interests. He could be more leaning towards we the people. But ultimately, what matters most is the results. Mamdani doesn't seem to have anything super clever in terms of his ideas, this free buses thing, and I know right-wingers are getting all like, oh, I can afford it. I mean, that's nonsense. The people that are complaining about the free buses, the stuff that they're saying is nonsense, right? To me, the real issue is that getting free buses and doing a few free grocery stores is not going to fundamentally change things, right? Gas prices are still going to be high. Rent's still going to be high. Even the rent freezes. See, rents are high currently. You're going to freeze them. You're going to freeze high rents. So all you're doing is you're stopping the bleeding. So you're stopping things from getting worse than they already are, as opposed to improving them. And he's such a good communicator. And he's been talking so long. He talks very well. He doesn't duck questions. He, very good the way that he does that. Instead of deflecting, he answers. But the stuff he's saying lacks a lot of substance in terms of meeting the moment. So it's like, for example, just so I can make you understand. So our house is on fire. The house is on fire. 3/4 of the house is burning, right? Donnie's coming in and he has a plan to use 5-gallon buckets of water to put out a fire in like one of the bedrooms where the fire is not necessarily all that bad. So it can possibly work. He can put that out, but the whole house is on fire. Like, this is not meeting the moment, right? So the free buses, yes. I mean, to the people that ride those buses, that's great. That's going to help them a lot. People that are poor and things like that. The people that don't have enough grocery stores, that's going to help them, right? But in the grand scheme of things, right, this is not going to amount to some fundamental change where, like, all of a sudden, I shouldn't say all of a sudden, but under Mamdani, New York City was so much better. So I think Mamdani is really going to amount to a Band-Aid, right? You got these historical idiots that are acting like he's going to destroy New York. I say he's going to help New York, but in a marginal way. The biggest value he presents is preventing damage that could be caused, further damage that could be caused by people like Cuomo, corrupt people like Cuomo. I don't know much about whatever the other guy's name is, but so, and that's typically what we get from Democrats, right? It's like you have an alternative that's much worse, and you have Democrats that are not the best, but they're certainly not as bad as the alternative. The other thing that's a value for Mamdani is because he seems to be genuine, and in full transparency, if I were in New York City, I would be voting for him, but not having much expectations behind that vote. The real positive thing behind him is the people he surrounds himself with. Mamdani himself, I'm not impressed with his abilities to solve problems and come up with creative solutions. The thing I've heard from him is like, oh, man, this is really going to fix things. It's kind of like we have 100,000 homeless people, and I come up with a plan to house, I don't know, 10,000 of them. I mean, that's great. That's very valuable. Okay, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but I get the impression that he seems to be a genuine person who really wants to help the people. So from that positive impulse, he can perhaps surround himself with some good people who are perhaps better than he is in terms of coming up with solutions. And if he really wants to help the people, he can help implement those solutions. But he's not the solutions guy in my view. I think his best thing is his communication skills, because I would almost look at him as like lazy in a way in terms of his. It's like, imagine if I were going to run for office and I didn't put a lot of effort into it. So in terms of figuring out solutions and figuring out what's wrong, if I focus mostly on messaging, I might end up being like Mamdani, right? Not getting into the details, not getting into the weeds about the problems and figuring out the solutions. Just I want to make sure that speak towards the things that people really care about. So I'm focused more on that as opposed to spending a lot of time with the solutions themselves. And I do recognize, like I said, it's a difficult thing. I don't expect anyone to just like solve everything overnight and turn New York City into a utopia. But I'm just telling like it is. I mean, nothing he's saying to me is really groundbreaking, right? And just think about the fact that he's not saying anything groundbreaking, and there's certain people that might be telling you, oh goodness, he's going to destroy New York City. Like, anybody telling you that, either lying to you or completely clueless. Mamdani ain't going to destroy nothing. Now, because of propaganda, any failures under his term are going to be looked at as like, see, I told you. Meanwhile, Cuomo could have won and done 10 times worse, and it wouldn't be looked at in the same way, right? So, as usual, he's going to have to be perfect. Meanwhile, the competition can just get away with so much more, right? Everybody's just waiting to go, if he wins and say, look at this bad thing that happened since he's a mayor. So the reality is he's not going to destroy things, but some people might try to, well, not might, they're going to try to present that he is destroying New York. So think about some really bad things that happened in New York City in the last 4 years. Imagine the exact same thing happens, and basically people act as if, oh, it's because of socialism and Mamdani, blah, blah, blah. That's what's going to happen.